Airbnb has filed to go public. Even during a global pandemic, when the entire travel industry has been absolutely shut down and decimated, they filed to go IPO, and their market cap may come in at over $30 billion. So of course, Airbnb is a vacation rental company where it's an online marketplace where individuals can either rent out their rooms in their homes, their apartments, their extra bedrooms, whatever it may be, and individual travelers or groups of travelers from all across the globe can come in, rent out these rooms for short or long stays, and it's a new form of travel that has been growing rapidly, and it takes people away from the traditional hotel business. So this, of course, is a travel company. They host a digital marketplace for travels and people who want to host different travelers within their facilities. So right now, the entire travel industry across the globe has been shut down. Borders are closed, there's not much international travel, and even state-to-state travel has been reduced. So even during this time of hardship for their business, Airbnb still plans to go public later on in 2020. So in this video today, we're going to go over the details of Airbnb's planned IPO. We're going to take a look at the company's financials and the future growth prospects for the business, and we're going to go over their business plan and why I believe they can actually succeed over a longer term span, even after the pandemic. I think they have the infrastructure and the business model that will actually be very attractive to travelers once border restrictions are gone away and once we can get the pandemic under control. So if you're new here, everyone, I am the Gen Z Investor. We post every single day about the stock market. We go over different stocks you can buy and sell within your portfolio. And in this video, we're going to go over one of the highly anticipated IPOs of the year, which is Airbnb. They just filed to go IPO, and we're expecting them to be traded on the public market on the Nasdaq by the end of 2020. So we're going to go over what this means for the company and take a deep dive into their numbers right now. So please hit that like button and subscribe for daily videos about the market. Once the company does go public and is traded on the market, they will be trading on the Nasdaq under ticker ABNB. And the market cap that is expected to go public with sets at over $30 billion, and the company is expected to raise around $3 billion from this IPO. This is kind of great news for the company because this $3 billion is going to help bolster up their cash position to really help them during this tough time right now where rental numbers have seen a decline over the past few months. And of course, with every young tech company that goes public, the original investors and the original founders are really in there and they're going to make a ton of money. The people who've been invested in Airbnb over the past decade, who got in during the early stages of the company's development, those are the people who are going to make millions, hundreds of millions, or even billions of dollars from this IPO. And one of those investors was Jeff Bezos. Of course, the richest man in the world, who's very highly involved in the tech space as CEO of Amazon, was actually one of the early investors in Airbnb, which means he's going to come out of this very well. So of course, with a net worth of over $150 billion, I'm sure he's not really looking forward to this payday too much, but it is actually known that he was part of their Series A and Series B rounds in 2010 and 2011. So no matter what happens, we don't know if he still owns his full position in the company or exactly how much he owns, but it's nice to know that they do have a major backer as Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, as part of their investor team, and he's been there since the early years back in 2010 and 2011. So he's seen this company grow from scratch, seen the increase in revenue year over year, and has been with them for a long period of time. And of course, from this IPO, he's standing to make some decent money. So now we're going to take a look at the financials. So now that we're getting their prospectus, we kind of get a deeper dive into their financial statements. So although 2020 has been a tough year for the company, before this hardship and before the pandemic, they were growing at a significant rate. Revenue in 2017 came in at over $2.5 billion. They followed that with over $3.6 billion of revenue in 2018, and in 2019, they brought in over $4.8 billion of total revenue. So the company was growing revenue at a nice rate. Year over year, massive growth rates for the top line revenue, which is exactly what you want to see from a young growth company planning to go public. But of course, with the pandemic, 2020 has been an awful year for the company. Revenues were down over 72% year over year, and they started plummeting back in the month of March, and April was their worst month of the year so far. Into the summer months, bookings were still down, revenue was still down, but they didn't see as much a decline as they compared to March and April. And in the first 9 months of 2020, the company only brought in $2.5 billion of revenue, which was down 32% from the same period a year ago. And the company's net loss more than doubled. In the first 9 months of 2020, they've lost over $700 million compared to only $320 million net loss in the first 9 months of 2019. And even after they laid off around 25% of their workforce, and they laid off over 1,900 people. So even with massive cost cutting, the company is still posting a huge net loss right now. But that isn't all the bad. The company wouldn't be going public if their entire future outlook was bad. If everything in the business right now was going terrible, that wouldn't be a good time to go public. Although they are going under some scrutiny to why they're going public and taking the company out right now, it's a little bit interesting, I have to say so myself, but there is some future outlook that's kind of nice. So in the third quarter of 2020, the company actually made a profit of $219 million. So this is actually not much smaller than the same profit last year, which was $267 million. So of course they say Q3 is always a good quarter for the company, as it is the busiest travel season in US and Europe. But even with restrictions, they still made a profit. So it's nice to see that after the bad start to 2020, after the first 6 months, the first 9 months were extremely hard, over the third quarter, they were able to profit of $219 million, which I believe is a great sign. So even though we're still in the global pandemic, this company has proven to actually show that they can make a profit. And they also had around $4.5 billion of cash on hand, which was up $3 billion from the previous report. And why I think this is huge, because the balance sheet for a young tech company is extremely important, especially when they're burning through over $600 million of cash each year. The balance sheet cash number is extremely important to maintain operations and to help them fund the future growth that they need in order to one day actually become fully profitable. So they actually did a major fundraising campaign in the month of April. They raised around $3 billion worth of funds. So the total cash balance on the balance sheet right now sits at over $4.5 billion, which I'm very comfortable with, and I think it can help sustain the business over a longer period of time. And one thing that I really like Airbnb's business model, and one thing I really think is going to help them become, a staple in the travel industry over the next decade. Once the pandemic is over, we're going to go over the reasons why I think Airbnb can be a leader in the industry. But one thing I really like is that they are so diversified. No single city accounts for more than 2.5% of their revenue. And last year, 63% of its revenue came from hosts outside of the US. So that just shows that even though they are a US-based company, they're globally diversified, and over 63% of its revenue came from hosts outside of their native country, which is really strong for me. And it really shows that the kind of countries across the world, like the beautiful European countries where a lot of tourists from the United States want to go see, they are using Airbnbs in those native countries when they go over there, and their US, revenue stream only makes up around less than 40% of their total revenue. Now we're going to kind of wrap up this video and just go over the theory to why I believe Airbnb is a business that is going to sustain operations and actually become a really stable name in the travel industry over the next decade. We're going to get over the numbers. We already took a look at the numbers, and they're nothing too special. Before the pandemic, as a lot of young tech companies are, which are planning to go public, beautiful revenue growth year over year. They're still losing money, the bottom line is still negative, and of course throughout a global pandemic where the travel industry was decimated, Airbnb, essentially a travel company, was hit very hard, and that's all easy to understand. Now I'm going to give you my opinion on the company. This is my personal thought on why I think they're going to grow, and I think this can actually be a very strong company over the next decade. As millennials, as Gen Z like myself continue to grow up, they become the people who are going to be traveling. The baby boomers may not use Airbnb, but that's okay because those people are kind of getting phased out in society and in the economy. So the young people who are the future, they're more comfortable using a service like an Uber or a Lyft, getting to a stranger's vehicle to take them from one place to another. So it only means that these people are more comfortable staying in someone's spare bedroom, renting out a random person's condo for their weekend stay at visiting their parents across the country. It just shows that Airbnb is tailored towards young people and the growing trend in the marketplace. And I love Airbnb business plan because they're just the middleman. They are the marketplace. Similar to an Amazon, where Amazon you go, you buy goods, but you just buy other companies' goods. You just use Amazon as the marketplace in order to buy those goods. And that is exactly what Airbnb is for different vacation rentals and vacation experiences. And I think that's really going to help them grow because they're just the middleman. They don't have any super high barriers to entry. They're not building 20-story hotels with luxurious rooms, with 200 different rooms, with 1,000-person staff, high cost of entry. They're not doing any of that. They're just being the middleman where individuals, consumers who want to make some extra money, and that's kind of growing in demand right now. Cost of living has shot up, and people are using this to make some extra money right now. And especially with mortgage rates at all-time low, people have the funds to, of course, obtain new units to use on Airbnb. And I think their business plan overall is really going to help them expand, especially because they're doing more than just offering places to stay. You can get some unique experiences. You can do some new online activities. You can rent out entire homes if you want to do just that. And of course, you can actually plan and book different experiences in different companies, countries, and cities all across the globe. So one thing I like about Airbnb is they're the future. For me personally, when I go to travel, the first thing I do is check in Airbnb. For me, that's my first result. Growing up, Airbnb has been the place for some cheap travel. I don't look at discount hotel websites anymore. Airbnb is my first go, and I've had a beautiful experience the few times that I've used them. So I think it allows people to be more creative. When you go to a traditional hotel, you're getting the same room everywhere you go. They all look the same, the exact same design, and usually they're more expensive than an Airbnb. But every different Airbnb that I've stayed in, each has a different design, way different layout, and they all have some unique little atmosphere to the room that I think is very special. So I also think Airbnb is going to grow because of the pandemic. Who wants to stay in a hotel room or in a busy hotel that has 1,000 other people in the building every single day, hundreds of people using the same small elevator every single day, tightly packed rooms, tightly packed hallways, congested lobbies, after a global pandemic that has really shut down that industry? Who's going to want to do that when you have the option to stay at an Airbnb where you can rent out a single individual room where you are the only person staying there? Of course, there's been people there before you, but during your stay, you're the only one there. You can rent out an entire house if you want to on Airbnb. No other people around, no health hazards with regard to bumping into people, close quarters. You can easily social distance. And I think that variety of different room style or different stay locations is what's going to help Airbnb beat the traditional travel industry once we get back to normal and all the restrictions have been lifted. So that was kind of my little opinion on Airbnb. I think it's a solid company. I think it's really going to grow. I think they have some strong backers, and I think overall the company will succeed. I think travel is going to come back no matter what. It may be at a reduced rate, and it may not come back as fast as people are expecting, but I think people are going to want to travel. Business travel may be down, but the people who are traveling for business were not the people using Airbnbs. Those are the people who have a corporate credit card and put it on a traditional hotel, not an Airbnb rental. The type of travel that I think is going to come back even faster is the vacation travel, is the remote travel. And that is the industry that Airbnb dominates, and I think they will continue to grow for a long period of time. So please hit that like button if you enjoyed the talk about Airbnb. I really do appreciate you watching, and see you in tomorrow's video.